What would you do if you got abducted by aliens? What's your first move?
I mean, it's like with dreaming, how you can have a layback experience or you can become lucid and participate, right? So
Mhm.
for me, if I was abducted, I would want to become lucid pretty quickly and try and participate in the experience because it's happening anyway, right? So you may
Mhm.
as well kind of like roll with it rather than, you know,
In your work, have you studied or interviewed or interacted with many people who are abductees?
many, many.
Yeah.
I've probably met with more than most people on this planet. So maybe around a few hundred that I've interviewed.
And
Yeah.
is this for like documentary films that you've done?
Well, I just recently made a series. It hasn't come out yet, but it's called The Abductees. And
Oh.
yeah, and I sat down with a lot of people that have had abduction experiences or what they like to call contact experiences. You see, it's interesting. If a person is taken and they feel like it was against their will and they had a terrible experience and it was awful and whatever, they lean into saying, I was abducted. If they were taken similarly, but they were proactive in that experience and they understood why it happened to them, they call it a contact experience. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
what's going on there? Are they physically gone? I've heard people say that they're physically gone, but I've heard people say it's more of a mental dream state. So what's your take on that? Both?
I love this question because it's like sort of saying, what do aliens look like? You know, anyone that's down the rabbit hole will kind of agree that with extraterrestrials, there's many different species. Like the mind boggles at how many different species there are. And they say there's at least 1,000 that have visited or are visiting us, over the last 100 years or so. Anything from a gray alien to a reptilian to a cicada to, all the different types. And it's the same with abduction slash contact experiences. Sometimes they'll just come into your room and they'll communicate with you and give you some information, which people call downloads.
Mhm.
Other times they'll take you from your home and into a craft. And other times, some people say that they're taken to different planets, different dimensions. So,
Mm.
I mean, it's a very varied experience. It's like asking someone here that was kidnapped, like, oh, where did they take you? It could be anywhere, right?
Mhm, mhm. So is there a common thread between, say, you've interviewed hundreds of people? What is the biggest commonality between people who have experienced contact?
They all kind of start off the same, but where they go is different, right?
Mhm.
So, how they tend to start off, generally, they are in a bedroom more often than not, or when you're asleep. And I think that's just because, that with the nature of these encounters, they tend to happen at night because there's not many people around, although some people have them during the day. But for the most part, it's in the evening and it's at home in your bed or on a couch or something like that. The first thing you kind of notice is a shift in the energy. And it's so hard to explain what that means, a shift in the energy. But when you just get that feeling in your gut that something's off, something's different, something's weird. So that
Yeah.
tends to happen first. And then next, there's a smell. So a lot of people talk about smelling kind of like a carbon monoxide kind of smell, almost like, when you plug something in wrong and the fuse box flips and there's that weird electrical kind of smell, that
Okay.
can come off your PowerPoint. So some people sort of smell those kinds of smells. And then what happens next is the thing that's varied. So a lot of people say that they can't move, they're paralyzed.
Mhm.
They can move their eyes and things like that. They can breathe perfectly, but they just kind of can't move. For me, when I had an experience of being taken, I felt as though like every part of me was being pulled out of my bed. It's like I'm doing it like this to sort of explain it to you, but imagine this, but on every single piece of your body. So I just felt that I was being pulled, and I was also able to push back down into my bed, and so I felt like I sort of like had a battle for like about an hour
Oh.
because I didn't want to go. And so you feel that physicality and that pulling happen, and then it's up to you to surrender to that and to go, or to say, no, I don't want to go, and to stay. So that's kind of like how most of them start up. Although some other people in particular with contact experiences where you're not being taken, will say that they're lying in their room, they're mildly paralyzed, so there's a little bit of movement, but they can't get up and walk around. And a portal opens, so light appears in the room. It starts off small, it swirls around, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's huge. And then usually beings will step through, or you'll see beings within, and that's when a communication occurs, but you're not taken anywhere. So they're the kind of the two main things that tend to happen.
Okay, two-part question. One is, when did you have your contact, or when did you get taken or
Yeah.
contacted? But also, is there a common thread in terms of the communication that is transmitted? What are they telling people? But first, tell me, when did you have your experience?
Okay, and I want to preface this by saying my experience was different than most people's because of the fact that I've been down the rabbit hole with this whole phenomena for years and years and years. I make documentaries, films about it. I meet people, talk about it all the time. So I'm not just your regular Joe that's sitting at home and then something happens. So uh, I'll tell you what happened earlier in the day. I was making a film about the afterlife, and I'd met this woman, Ellen, who was an NDE, a near-death experiencer. And like most people that suffer near-death experiences, when they die and then they come back with some sort of like extrasensory power of some sort. And so I was talking to Ellen about extraterrestrials, and she's like, have you ever been taken before? And I'm like, no. And she said, I think, like, why do you think that is? And I'm like, because I'm afraid. I'm really afraid and I don't want them to take me. And she goes, but if you let them take you, then you're going to learn the information they want to share with you. So she's like, if you like, I can unlock all of the energy inside you that's saying, don't come and get me. And I'm like, sure, okay. I'm just sitting there on set, not really thinking much, just trying to bond with the interviewee, whatever. So she does some witchy woo woo stuff on me, and that's that. Anyway, that night, I wake up, I look over, I wake up to the sound of the carbon monoxide alarm going off. So it's like, do, 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 do. I'm in a hotel and it's going nuts. And so I get up to like go and press a button or call someone to turn it off. And I can't move. I'm paralyzed. So I'm just like, I cannot move. So now I'm in this room, and lights flashing, a little blue light, and the noise. I look at the clock and it says 222, which is always the number when weird shit happens to me. And I'm just like, oh God, here we go. And I knew, all right. And then all of a sudden I started feeling myself being lifted out of my bed. And like I said, it was like every single piece of me simultaneously be lifted at the same time, pulled, if you will. And I said in my mind, telepathically, are you trying to take me onto your craft? Yes. Are you going to hurt me? No. Why do you want to take me? Because we want to share secrets, like share secrets and information with you. I'm like, great. Are you going to bring me back? No. And I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, no, if you come with us, we're not going to bring you back. And so I sort of said, well, look, I can't go. I have children. I'm not ready yet. I've got too much stuff to do here. I don't want to, go. And they're like, if you come, we're not going to bring you back. And I'm like, I just kept saying no over and over and over again, whilst pushing so hard down into the bed with my body. And then after what felt like a year, but was probably about 45 minutes because of the clock,
Mhm.
it stopped. The alarm went off, the room went normal, and that was it.
Oh, so you didn't get any secrets.
I've gotten secrets in other ways, but in that particular encounter, I didn't. I feel like um I don't know, like whatever messages I'd been sending out, because every thought that you have goes somewhere. Someone's always listening to your thoughts. And I think that they heard my longing for knowledge and they thought that, oh, this one's ready. Let's take her on board. Um, yeah, no, not ready. I'm good here for now.
What kind of, can you share any secrets that you have received?
So I mean, in our industry, people call them downloads, I guess. I channel. So channels are interesting people. So channels are people that listen to the voices in their head. right? We all have an inner dialogue. We all have these little voices, like while we're making a cup of coffee in the morning that says, oh, we've got to do this today and that today and whatever. But sometimes if you ask that voice questions, it will actually answer you. And the answers are quite profound. And you really get a sense that they're not coming from you. And the more
Mm.
that you lean into that, the more that you become a channel because you're saying to whatever, whoever that voice is, that you're willing to kind of listen. And so for me, when I channel, it tends to happen when I'm around people like you, actually.
Oh, why, thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had a dinner recently, and I was channeling there. And when I'm around spiritual people, I find that I get messages from somewhere else. And it's not because the people around me are making the messages come through, it's because they're on path doing spiritual stuff. And that's why I'm getting the messages because I've got messages for them or they have messages for them. It's interesting. So for part B of your question, it ties in with this. I keep getting told, me personally, I keep getting told you've got to keep making these movies and these TV shows that you're making because you've got to make them listen. You've got to make them understand. I feel that I've been put here because I'm not very witchy woo woo. I don't run around in trippy hippie clothes, even though they're very cool. I don't kind of like look like your typical spiritual person. And so I feel like I'm able to bridge the gap between the woo woo and normal regular people. I feel like
Mm.
that's kind of my mission.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So in your interviews, what is there a common download or communication that a lot of your interviewees have received?
Yes. So, the environment, I know this sounds cliche, but it's true. The environment is a really big thing. So,
Mm.
for like, since like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, they've been talking to us about our environment and about global warming and about the fact that we're ruining our planet. And if we don't do something soon, that we're going to be in trouble. We're going to get to a critical point where the environment is just too far compromised for any interventions that we make to make a difference, right?
Mm.
But lately it's changed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which actually, when I'm saying this to you, it makes me I want to cry right now. It's changed because I think we're getting to that critical point now.
Mhm.
And it doesn't seem as though we've evolved quickly enough to make that change. So, what people are starting to hear now are ways to survive and ways to adapt in new environments.
Oh my.
And also, a lot of people say, well, why are there more sightings now? Because I mean, there's like hundreds every day, right?
Yeah. And
I
We just had New Jersey. Like people completely forgot about that, but like New Jersey was covered in
in-
drones and
right, I
plasmoids and
know, right? It was
what?
it was insane, and that just got put. Oh yeah, it was just nothing brushed under the rug, right? But not wanting to be like a fearmonger or anything like that, but I think that they're preparing arcs, and they're taking animals and plants and fish and um, the elements from Earth and some of us, and not abducting us either. There are many of us that are willing. And I think that they're preparing for something. They're preparing to preserve us and all the beauty that we have around us. If
Well, I would like to be
the
preserved.
worst thing happens.
I would like to be preserved.
You would like to be preserved. I'll get
Yeah.
a big jar and I'll pickle you. Some
So
rosemary in there and some chili.
this is Can You Survive This podcast? So I guess it's appropriate. You mentioned the 40s. And so what's the deal with do you have any research or opinion about like Roswell and
Yeah.
what's the deal with that?
So I think there was a lot more going on than just Roswell. Roswell just happened to be a perfect storm where the media got involved and ergo the story was preserved, right?
Mhm.
But this was the 40s. I mean, there were very few video cameras. There weren't people running around like we are now. And so stuff was happening pretty much everywhere, but it wasn't being captured per se, and which is why I guess we don't know about it. I've got a very interesting friend, Paula Harris. Have you heard of her before?
No, no, who's
Um,
that?
Paula Harris, I mean, she is a veteran, a legendary human in our genre, in the alien UFO world. She was an award-winning reporter, was never into aliens or UFOs or anything like that until she had her own personal experience. And then she ended up dedicating her life to the research. But I interviewed her a little while back, and she educated me about um, Roswell and Trinity. Have you heard of Trinity
No,
before?
what's Trinity?
So Trinity was a place that was quite close to Roswell, and something very similar happened around the same time. So a Tic Tac style craft actually crashed into a field. Two children that were like farm hands, I guess, in on the field, saw the craft, actually went into the craft, saw dead and living beings, and actually took away an artifact, like took away a piece of the craft, which actually Jacques Vallée has in his possession, which is super crazy and interesting. But what Paula and Jacques and many other people believe is that when the first atomic bomb was dropped
Yeah.
during the bomb testing in the early 40s, it sent out a ripple into the universe. And we'd been quite unnoticed for some time. So sure, we've been visited in the past. We all know that. I mean, those pyramids were not built, by human hands 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah. What's the deal with that? No one knows where those are from.
that's a whole other story. But basically, she and many others believe that a ripple was sent out into the universe. I mean, an atomic bomb not only destroys the earth around it, but it destroys the air and it destroys the atmosphere and those particles. Nothing ever disappears, nothing ever dissipates. It just changes form and it moves on, right?
Hmm.
And so they saw us. They saw
Yeah.
us. And I say they said, what the fuck are these people doing to their
Hmm.
home? And then they started visiting. And since then, they haven't stopped. I feel like we're being monitored, not like in some scary, creepy way, like Independence Day, where they're going to blow us all up or anything like that. But I think they're monitoring us. And I think that if we had kept doing that, they would have stopped us for sure.
They're like lifeguards watching the kiddie pool.
Exactly.
See,
They're,
that's what I was going to ask you, but you started to answer it. Was my question was going to be like they seem to show up around like atomic bomb places. So is
they're,
that is that what's going on? They're lifeguards and we're in the kiddie pool and they're like, all right, just don't hurt yourselves.
I think so, definitely. It's you get a sense from them and the people that communicate with them. In particular, you've probably heard of Bashar, Daryl
Yeah.
Anger, who channels the ET Bashar. Um, and he gets a lot of messages from this entity, but it's as though they're like, look, this is your planet. We're going to let you run around and do your thing. We're not going to intervene. But if we see you're literally about to like destroy the planet, then we're going to do something. Because extraterrestrials, they say, are members of the galactic community, right? And
Mhm.
we are too. We've just forgotten, and we've forgotten how to communicate with them and how to be part of that alliance. And so when they look at Earth, they don't see it as our planet. They look at our galaxy and they see that as their home. So their planet isn't their home, their galaxy is their home. Their planet is like a country or like a state. And so
Yeah.
Earth is like another country on their planet, which is their galaxy. And so for us, if we saw that, I don't know, Canada were going to drop a whole bunch of atomic bombs, do you think as Americans we'd be really freaked out about that?
Mhm.
And that we would go there and we would like stop that because it was going to hurt us? I think
Yeah.
that that's what's happening with the
So what was your series called again? Your most recent series?
the abductees.
The
That's the
Abductees.
one that
Can
it's
you
about to
say
come out.
can
Yeah.
you say where it's going to be available?
So it's going to be available on Spark, which is our new OTT platform, the MTV version of Gaia. So we're very excited about that. People can
Very
access
cool.
that at sparktv.co, and also in your app store and on your TV.
What does OTT mean?
It just means streaming platform. So just like Netflix.
Gotcha, gotcha. It's like the MTV of Gaia.
That's what we're kind of calling it because we love Gaia. I think it's been so amazing for our community, but we find it just a little bit tired and a little bit old school.
Mm.
So we're trying to be the cool cousins.
Yeah, I like that. What is the wildest story or interview you came across while creating your series?
Oh my God. I mean, they're all wild. They're all so wild. I think one of the ones that, well, a group of people that affect me most are the people that say that they've had hybrid children.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, so there's one woman in particular. Her name's Geraldine. I always say her name wrong. Orzoko, Geraldine Orzoko. And she's very famous in the genre for telling her stories and educating people on the hybrid program and hybrid children. And so, all through her entire life, she's been taken from her home, taken up onto craft, and she has been inseminated and she has carried multiple pregnancies that have all mysteriously ended. So she went through this period in her life where she was quite depressed because, she was pregnant, then it was gone. She was pregnant, then it was gone. And even having doctors saying, well, there's no even remnants that there was anything going on there in certain times. But then she's taken aboard a ship and she's actually introduced to these hybrid children that are half human and well, half her and half extraterrestrial. And not just one type of ET, multiple, and when I think about abduction and seeing aliens and all this sort of stuff, I mean, the whole thing's pretty creepy and confronting. But imagine seeing a child that's half you and half something else. Like, how does the mind comprehend that? You know?
I don't know. That's getting outside of my
Yeah,
capacity.
right. And then also, because I've spoken to multiple women that have claimed to have had hybrid children, they love the kids. They love them
The
as
aliens or the mothers?
they love the children. They love their hybrid children. And so they miss them and they love them and they worry about them. And like what a mind-bending thing to
Should
have.
make a movie about that.
Well, we just did actually. Me and my producing partner Michael Mazzola, who's also your good friend.
Yeah.
We just finished making a film called The Hybrids. So that I think is being released in 3 months. But check it out. Geraldine's stories on there, and lots of other people that are hybrids or are actual hybrid children. So it's a very interesting, weird area of what we
So
do.
that your film, The Hybrids, it is not a fictional movie.
No, it's a documentary. So in the film, I go and meet with 5 or 6 different people that, like I said, are hybrids or have had hybrid children, and their stories you just never.
What do hybrids look like? Do they look
Hmm.
like a regular human being?
They look like a regular human being, but they act different. They act very different. There's one woman, and I'm, by the way, for anyone who's watching, the reason I'm name dropping is because these people that I've met are so like interesting and just have shifted my consciousness so deeply. So when you hear me name drop, it's because I'm suggesting that you should go Google them and look them up and watch some of their stuff.
Do
Uh,
they ever get like tests done where they get
change
like
your
their
life.
do they ever get like their blood or something
Well,
like
one of them is.
DNA swab or something that shows some weird thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of them is this lady called Vivian Charvet. So
Okay.
Vivian Charvet, oh, I love this woman so much. She came to me when we were going to make this movie, and people were saying, well, this woman actually is an extraterrestrial and she's in a synthetic human body.
Whoa.
And I'm just like, look, I'm down the rabbit hole. I've seen some shit. I know we're not alone, but that's a lot. You know what I mean? And so when I went to meet her, I was super skeptical, right? I was
Yeah.
ready to debunk because I hate it when people fake it with what we do. It pisses me off. There's enough real stories, we don't need any fakers. Anyway, and so I met her. And instantly, I knew that there was something extremely different about her. And then she starts to tell us the story of her body and how her body is different from ours in the way that it looks the same, but it's very weak and like physically. So she has a lot of skin issues that normal human beings don't have.
Mm.
She is often quite sick in certain environments. Doctors have done so many studies on her, and every time they're just like, "We don't understand. We've never seen this before." Da, 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 da.
Where's she from? The
She,
moon.
she's Octurian. Okay, yeah,
Okay. But where is she? Where is she? I was actually asking that question, like, where is she
yeah.
from in space? But also, where is she from on this? She's got to be
I think
born somewhere, right?
yeah. So it's like she was adopted, and the adoptive parents are also Octurian as well. And so there's been this whole lineage of these beings coming through this one particular family line, and she's one of those. But it's so interesting talking to her. I really struggled with like the pronoun, I guess, for it. You know how you're like he, she, they, them. What do you do? Because
Yeah.
I kept saying, so tell me what the Octurians think about this. And she's like, well, I'm an Octurian. So I'd have to reframe. So what do you think about this?
Right. Right.
But she feels as though she's what they call like a first contact specialist. So it's her role to be here to help prepare us for when they arrive, for when they come.
Is
Um,
it the Arcturians who are going to come?
well, I mean, they're all coming
There's
and
also
coming and going.
there's all
But
sorts of ones.
yeah,
What are the Arcturians?
the Octarians similar to the Palladians. So they're quite humanoid in the way that they look. They don't look all freaky and like, you know, bugs or anything strange like that. And we are them and they are us. So, like, we're descendants of them. They've been here for many years. There have been periods in our history where we have lived among them and periods where they have gone. This is one of those periods. And now they're sort of returning and they're coming back.
What's
So,
the difference though? Are they smarter than us, stronger than us? They got telepathy. What's their
older,
deal?
they're older. So
They've just been
they're,
around longer.
yeah, they're just older and more evolved than us. I mean, look at us 100 years ago. We had no telephones, we had no internet, we couldn't fly to the moon. Now, 100 years later, we can do all that. Where are we going to be in 200 years from now? So they're just like I guess, a future version of ourselves living on the same timeline as we're on now. So,
Okay.
I find that quite interesting. I wish they'd like hurry up and come. We've got so many problems right now.
I'd like them to come teach us some stuff. Maybe we'd all fight less and have less wars if they came and showed us something weird.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
My friend who I know has been on many trips to another place through his plant medicine explorations. Why, like when you're in those states, because it's not something I've really experienced much, what do you think you're tapping into? Do you think that you've gone to another dimension? Do you think that it's here and we just can't see it? Do you think it's past or future, or what do you think that is?
I think it's hard to answer because it could be different for everyone, but I'm also not
What you
sure.
feel, what you feel.
I think it's the mind is sort of the filters of the mind are opened so wide that there's more of infinity coming in. Does that make sense?
Is it kind of like a dog can only see in black and white, but we can see in color?
Exactly.
You're doing that now. You can see in color plus rainbow plus the other thing. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
what you think it is? Just
exactly. The
enlarging of
the
perception.
the filters are sort of opened wider.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, are they, they hear the extraterrestrials, and like this Vivian will tell you that they walk among us. Many people will tell you that they walk among us, and I think a lot of the time it is a perception thing. Similar with spirits and ghosts. Some people can see them like they're standing right there, but other people can't, even though they're both in the same room. I
Mm.
think I think there's a lot more going around us than we can perceive.
Some people now, is it true that some people think we're all hybrids and like we came from, I don't know, what is it, the Anunnaki or something like that? What
Pretty
have you
much
heard?
anyone, like, so anyone that's like a channel, like Bashar, Daryl Anchor, anyone that's like Vivian that says that they're an ET, anyone that seems to have this direct, proper contact, not just one-off experiences, they all think that they tell us that that's what we are. Um, The thing that fascinates me the most out of every facet of this realm that we love to delve into is I truly believe at some point in human history, recent human history, there was an intervention from them, and our DNA was altered somewhat because the speed in which over the last 150 years we have evolved, it is just it's not possible. It's just not
Yeah.
possible for it to have happened that quickly, you know? So I don't know if we're hybrids in a sense that we were cavemen and then aliens came down and we all had a big sex orgy and then like here we are. I feel like it's more DNA hybridization. Do you get what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, it's not so much that they liked banging us, but
Yeah,
they
they
actually
want to
wanted to
bone
like
us. Yeah,
they they wanted to sort of gift us the more of an expansive mind.
yeah, well, I think it was like, look, these guys are going to evolve to here, but it's going to take them, 500,000 years to do that. Why don't we just give them a little kick? You
Mm.
know? But then it's like, well, why? Was it for a malevolent reason or a benevolent reason? Were they just doing us a solid and being like, hurry up, you guys are too fucking slow? Or do they need us to be this way for some reason?
Yeah. Do you have an opinion? Do you? I want to think maybe it's just my own ego, but I would like to think that they need us to be this way for something very special.
I think so too. I think so too. Like, one thing that I love to explore is human history prior to 5,000 years ago, because what most people don't, think about day to day is the fact that beyond 5,000 years ago, beyond the pyramids, as the Egyptian reign of the pyramids, um, we have no idea where we came from. Like there's places like Ogegli Tepe, which is a 12,000 years old, right? But that didn't have any recorded history in it. It had some, like pretty a few little etchings here and there, but it didn't have the hieroglyphs like
And
we had in Egypt, right?
that's like a mega structure, 12,000-year-old mega structure, like
But
in Turkey or something.
that's correct. And then it's actually surrounded by, I think maybe 20 or 30 more almost identical style structures. Not
Wow.
identical, but same vibe. But that are still buried and haven't been excavated. But they've done the scans; they can just see them. So it was the whole land of it all, right? So there's all this history. There's all this evidence that we were civilized. There's all this evidence that we could, had machinery that could cut rocks and do all this magical shit. But there's no recorded history. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And part of me really believes that we were advanced, we got wiped out. Just like we will keep getting wiped out every 10, 15,000 years because cataclysms happen, right? Solar flares
Yeah.
happen, tsunamis happen, earthquakes happen, shit happens in the universe. We're on a rock floating in the fucking, ether, right? Weird shit happens. And I feel like maybe the last one happened and they just wanted us to catch up real quick. So instead of letting us just be, oh shit, we're back to the Stone Age, they were like, well, no.
Let's advance you a little bit. So that's what I've been wondering about too, is it's like maybe we were really advanced
That's what I mean.
and we got either we killed ourselves by
Right.
accident or maybe a meteor or some cataclysm knocked us out and then there was like, a couple of people left in a cave who luckily restarted the whole thing, but they don't have
Right.
any knowledge of how all the shit got built.
Well, I'd like to think I'm pretty smart, right? I'm no idiot, but I couldn't build a skyscraper. I couldn't
Right.
I couldn't make a mobile phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
No fucking way. I'm so far away from being able to do that. It's unbelievable. And so that's kind of what I feel. You remember at the very beginning, I love how things go full circle. At the beginning of this conversation, we talked about how like there's UFOs turning up in spheres and like all these things, and there's so much activity. And I said maybe it's because they're making an arc. But that's what I believe keeps happening. Like we just keep doing life and not preparing for a cataclysm, right? I don't know if it's just sort of like this, we just prefer to live in denial because it's less stressful, right?
Yeah.
Um, but they don't. And so I feel like this is one of those moments where they're coming back and they're trying to preserve us where we're at. So if it happens again, we can be kickstarted again.
Hmm. So,
because we
what
ain't
do
doing
you
it.
of all these visitings and abductions and contacts and crashes and Roswell and Trinity and Tic Tacs and plasmoids, New Jersey, all this craziness? What do you think the government knows?
I mean, I I think the government knows a lot. I'll go into what I think they know in a sec. But I also think that that our tribe, right? Our people, the people you see at Conscious Life Expo and Contact in the Desert, and the people that are meditating, and the people that are making all this content, and the people that are watching it, I think that we hold a lot of knowledge as well, and that knowledge is different. You see, the government has an agenda, and their agenda is always money and protecting their country, which
Power.
is a friendly way of saying war. And so I think that their interest has been, okay, are these beings coming here to kill us, and can we protect ourselves against them? But then also, ooh, new technology. Is this something we can use to protect ourselves or to do whatever to one up one of the other countries?
Mhm.
Like when you talk to people like Danny Sheehan, or you hear from Lou Elizondo, and David Grush, people like that. I mean, the evidence is there. Crafts have been retrieved, biological matter has been retrieved. We know we're not alone. Um, but I actually don't think the government knows that much.
Okay. Okay.
I
So it's
think
not
they
like Men in Black where we're like really in and we know them and we've got loads of tech and
I don't think Donald Trump's part of the Galactic Federation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think so, because
yeah.
the Galactic Federation wouldn't be cool with the government not sharing this knowledge with all of the other governments and all of the other people.
Yeah.
They certainly wouldn't be pro America. They wouldn't give two shits about, because they don't look at the world in that way. Remember, we talked about galaxy,
Yeah.
planet, like they would look at our planet just as one united.
Sometimes I think that the whole government thing is just like layer upon layer of psyop. Like they want us to think maybe they have something, maybe they don't, just to keep us unsure so
Yeah,
that we're actually like kind of scared and kind of like, all right, let's not fuck with them because maybe they have some plasmoid alien technology and maybe they don't, but I'd rather not find out.
exactly. And I think that a lot of our governments, including Russia and here, um, probably like the fact that other governments around the world think that we have all of this technology. Like, governments are pretty good at hiding stuff. So a lot of the leaked information that we have has probably not been, well, has been leaked, but from the inside out, right? Um, I don't know. I mean, I try not to get too involved in what's happening with the government, because I believe that they are communicating with us. And if we ask questions, and if we listen, that we'll get all the information that we need.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even if we knew about that technology, like, how to make flying saucers and how to do this and how to do that, what are you going to do with it, Jeff? What am I going to do with it? You know what I mean? Mobile
Yeah.
phones, cars, flying saucers. There's nothing we can do about it. For me, it's more, I just want to learn about, who are we? Why are we here? What is our purpose? How can we make life better on this earth? And can you take us to your mothership so we can meet our galactic brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah, yeah. What do you think the New Jersey stuff was? Do you think it was like government technology? Because wasn't there a lot of stuff seen? There was drones, but there was plasmoids and there was weird beams and lights. And you got any opinion about New Jersey?
I mean, my friend Adam Curry and I went to Martha in Texas, and we saw these things called the Martha Lights, which are believed to be plasmoids. So, energy and light beings that exist for very small, finite periods of time. And, we stared at these lights, and we investigated them, and we went as close as we could to them. And there was no natural source for them. They really were this crazy anomaly. So, anomalies do happen. Um, I don't know. I mean, you tend to see that when there's nuclear bombs, craft show up. When
Yeah.
there's even when there's like mass pollution events, like in the ocean, if like an oil tank is broken and the oil's spilling out and things like that, they appear, you know, they tend to appear when there's something funky going on. And so maybe when these drones were flying around, the other entities that entered the conversation were maybe there to monitor that.
Okay.
What do
Okay.
you think?
I think it's like some government technology that they wanted to test, but also wanted to like see what people's reaction would be as well. So I think it's like a combination of let's test this stuff we got, but let's also kind of make it a psyop just to see are people going to freak out or what's going to happen. That's part, or my other theory, I have a couple theories. My
Mm.
other theory is they wanted to do like a drone swarm to kind of create an emergency so that they could take the airspace back, meaning like people can fly drones pretty willy nilly. And they wanted to kind of be like, look, this is a big problem because there's drones everywhere now. So now no one gets to fly drones. Like they make the problem so that they can ban something.
Mm. Just then I had a channeling moment. Like when they happen, they just happen. And I've never had this thought before, which is always like, okay, cool, weird. But what dropped in was nothing to see here. Okay.
Mm.
So what I mean by that is just say that there was something funky happening in the sky. So some crafts were showing up, ET crafts or something like that. Some anomalies in the water below. I don't know. They sent in those drones to distract everybody so that they were just looking at those drones. Nothing to see here, you know, uh,
Uh-huh.
almost like camouflage.
Look over here. Look over here. Look at this wiggly hand while I pick your pocket with this other hand.
Well, I mean, think about it. What was happening when every single eyeball was in the sky staring at that? What was happening elsewhere? You know, no one in New Jersey could tell you because they were all
They
staring at
were all looking
the
up in the
sky,
sky.
right?
There could have been a USO, an unidentified submerged object.
Exactly. Well, you know that movie Super 8. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
With the kids in it and those blocks and all that sort of stuff, and yeah, and just like transporting things under the cover of night, like nothing to see here kind of thing. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, maybe that was it. It was definitely weird.
Yeah. So, and we're getting close to the end of our time, but I want to circle back to you. You mentioned some very interesting people like Vivian Chavez
Yeah.
and
Geraldine, I'm going to say
Gerald
her name correctly because I love her and I'm not doing her justice.
Geraldine or Orozco or Zoko.
Geraldine, I'm so sorry. Hang on. You need to edit this. Yeah, so it's Geraldine Orozco, Orozco. Geraldine, this chick. She's amazing. And man, the gifts that she's been given by them, her mind is just, she's a, a genius, do a
What
deep dive.
kind of what kind of knowledge and wisdom is she carrying and transmitting?
Man, I can't even.
We got to watch the movie or the
Yeah,
show.
yeah, but she's able to sort of heal trauma, like any trauma that you've had in this life and in a past life, but she's able to do it in like some crazy metaphysical brain rewiring kind of way and help you to like find your true purpose here. And
Cool.
it's really cool.
I
She's
want to find her and talk to her. Maybe she'll come on the show.
oh my God, I'll hook you up after this call. She
Yeah.
is a bomb. And Vivian Chavez, I cannot.
I would love to have her on. So
You know what
you
I love about Vivian? What I loved about Vivian and Bashar is that instead of like riffing like we are about like, oh, what do ETs feel like and what is it? They've done it. They are it, like, and that's what's so cool about it. Like you really feel like you're in the presence of God. I don't mean like Jesus or whatever, but like a godlike entity because it's not from here. It's from
like someone that's just on like another spiritual or conscious, another
correct.
level of consciousness.
They vibrate differently.
Wow.
You feel like a mere mortal in their presence, and I love that feeling.
Oh, I want to get Geraldine on the podcast so
Oh, for
bad
sure.
now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
She's
if you
amazing.
could hook me up, I would love that.
100. I
Uh,
definitely.
so that kind of answered what my sort of last question was going to be, which was going to be why are they hybridizing people? But I think the answer came through for me as you were saying that, and it's like they're doing it. Certain people get passed this gift to help others and to help, and basically it. And is there any? Did I get it?
I think it's like hand-to-hand combat, like that's how they're choosing to convert minds to understanding like who we really are and where we really do come from. Like with my partners, Michael Mazzola and Dr. Stephen Greer, we've launched this platform called Spark. And the ethos behind it is who are we, where do we come from, and why are we here? Because the biggest mystery in the world isn't UFOs and isn't aliens and isn't metaphysics or any of those things. The greatest mystery in the world is us, because we don't know where we come from. We don't know who we are. We don't know where we come from. We don't know why we're here. And so Spark, our platform, is all about the quest to answer that question. And the hybrids are here to give us those answers.
I love it. Is Spark available now? Like, can people get it
Spark
on
launches
there
on the 1st of June.
June 1st? Let me write
June
that
1st.
down.
So get ready,
June 1.
everyone.
So like I'll be able to like if I have like a smart TV,
Yep,
I'll
you
be
can
able to
watch it on
find it on
TV,
there.
you can watch it on your iPhone or your Android device, or you can just go onto the web, which will be sparktv.com. That's probably the best way to start. You can go there, and then from there you can navigate to where you need to go, to whatever app you want to get or whatever.
Okay, sparktv.com or sparktv.co.
.co. Yeah.
Dot co. Okay, I'm
.co.
just writing this
And the
down.
great thing about Spark is that it's free.
Oh, it's free.
It's free. Yeah, it's
Okay,
free.
there'll be like ads on there.
There'll be some ads on there, yeah. You can subscribe if you want to and get rid of the ads. But we thought it was really important that we had a free component because we wanted everybody in the world to be able to access this knowledge.
I
This
love that.
knowledge isn't there to be monetized and to make people super rich. It's there to educate and evolve our species. So we
I'm
wanted to
super into
make
that.
sure, even if you were, like living in downtown Baghdad, you could hop onto your smart device and you could access it for free.
Fantastic. I just wanted to mention, you're answering the like who are we, where do we come from, why are we here question. I like to just reflect on that a little bit.
Sure.
And I don't know if this is correct or not, but I'm just going to say it. I think that we are the universe sort of birthed us so that it could look at itself and feel and check itself out and investigate itself. And so through all the different human perspectives, it gets to do that. It gets to give itself a hug and look at the sunset and walk your dog and jump in the ocean and that kind of thing.
Wow, 8 billion perspectives.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So,
how you get the total human experience, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Um, so as we wrap up, where I think you already said, but let's just put a cap on it. Where can people find you? And is there anything else you want them to know, or you just want to drop some social media and or Spark TV plugs, or give me what you got?
Sure. So we have a new movie out called The Hybrids, which is coming out in a couple of months, which we're super excited about. So keep an eye out for that. And we also just finished editing the This Is Not a Hoax, which is the Nazca mummies movie. So that's also like a must watch. We have definitely been visited. There have definitely been beings that have been left behind. And this documentary really delves deeply into that and shows you these amazing bodies and the scans that prove that they were real. Um, but in closing, I would just love to say question absolutely everything and join me on this crusade to figure out who we are and why the fuck we're here, because I have no idea still.
I love it. Thanks for coming on the podcast.